Welcome students to the online lecture of Money and Banking ECO 432. This is our second lecture. So if you have missed lecture 1 which has already been uploaded, please refer back and find lecture 1 before you start lecture 2. So the reading material for this lecture would be chapter 2, Introduction and Overview of Financial System by Frederick Mishkin, The Economics of Money, Banking and Financial Market.
So up until the previous slide, we were looking on to the varied kind of classification of financial markets. Now we move on to financial intermediaries. The difference between financial market and the financial intermediary has been already explained before, but just to brush you up, the financial markets offer a direct way of transaction where both the buyers and the sellers of bonds and stocks, they know each other and they buy and sell bonds and stocks. As opposed to that, the financial intermediaries are a medium that facilitates the buyers and the sellers who are willing to take loan and save their money. And a very traditional example of financial intermediary is a bank, because it channels funds from savers to borrowers. It takes money from those who would like to save and it lends out to money who wants to take loan. Not only bank, there are other non-banking financial organizations which also act as a medium of transaction between borrowers and lenders. First, we look at the varied kinds of functions that are played by the financial intermediaries. The first function that distinguishes financial intermediary from other organizations is that it can successfully reduce the transaction costs, and this occurs due to economics of scale and lower information costs. Now, what is economics of scale? If you remember from your earlier basic courses, economics of scale occurs when the per unit cost of producing something goes down as we produce more of it. So, for example, if you consider lending money to your friend, and if you say have 10 lakh taka and you decide to lend it to your friend at a 10% rate of interest. Now, although he or she can be a very good friend of you, but then again you cannot certainly say that he or she is going to repay you back at a certain time. However, what you can do is you can ensure that your friend repays you back by imposing a contract, or you can both sign an agreement, a legal agreement between you and your friend. But then again, since we are all non-technical people in terms of legal agreements, so what we have to do is we have to hire a lawyer who would then be making a contract between you and your friend. Now, the lawyer can charge you 50,000 taka to make an airtight concrete agreement. Now, if you say that if your friend pays you back 10 lakh taka plus say 60,000 taka as interest, and if you're paying your lawyer 50,000 from that 60,000, you are left with only 10,000 taka as your extra income. So in that particular example, you might not be happy to lend it to your friend, because at the end you would be only getting 10,000 taka additionally as interest. As opposed to this one-to-one or personal lending borrowing system, when we are referring to a bank, what the bank does is, if it hires a lawyer to make an agreement between borrower and lender, it can then use the same agreement to make a lot of other such loans. say a bank uses 10,000 more loans using the same agreement. So in that case, the cost of the lawyer, that is 50,000 taka, here gets divided among 10,000 loans, and by so doing the bank minimizes the cost of lawyer or the cost of making that agreement to a very negligible amount, and then hiring a lawyer and making the agreement thus doesn't remain as expensive as it was between you and your friend. So that is why we say that the financial intermediaries, since they make a lot of loans every day, that is why they can successfully reduce the transaction cost by the merit of economics of scale. And financial intermediaries have also the advantage of lower information costs, because if, for example, if you take me, so I am a Bragg Bank customer, I have my account with Bragg Bank. Now if I apply for 5 lakh taka loan from Bragg Bank, the Bragg Bank doesn't need to input or gather a lot of information about me because I already have my account with them. So in that case, here they can reduce the information cost when they are lending their money to me, because I am already known as a customer to them. Banks also allow us for differences in desired lending and borrowing time horizons. Not all of us have the same preference in terms of lending and borrowing. So if you take me as an example, I might live for another 30 years. So it is quite feasible for me to take a loan and continue to pay the loan for 30 more years. However, if you think an old man, say a person who is 70 years old, so he might be willing to take loan for, let's say, 10 more years, but not as long as I do, because he might not live up to that age. And even if he does, the bank might not be willing to grant him a 30-year loan because of his age. Or, so here the age or the time preference matters. Also, if you are applying for, say, car loan, and if you are applying for a small amount of loan, say 1 or 2 lakh taka, you would be more interested to pay it earlier than for 5 years, and you wouldn't be stretching it out for 10 or 12 years. So bank actually offers different time periods that can be customized according to our needs and according to our wants. The financial intermediaries can also share risk and can lower risk through diversification. Say, for example, if you consider the previous example of you lending your friend your money. Now, here you and your friend are contacting on a one-to-one basis. So, if your friend pays you back, you are good enough. If your friend doesn't pay you back, you are totally lost. Now, one way the financial intermediary can reduce this risk is by granting loan not to one or few people but to a lot of many people. And when they are doing so, they are distributing their risk among all their customers and diversifying the risk. So if Bragg Bank, for example, is making loan to 10,000 of its customers, now it is very unlikely that all 10,000 customers would be defaulting on their loans. There can be hardly 100 to 150 customers, or it can be 200 or more, but it wouldn't be a lot of customers from that 10,000 who would be defaulting on their payment. And since not all the customers will be defaulting, meaning if that 200 customer doesn't make their payment, the bank can still be running because the other 800 people are paying their loans at a right time. So that is how the financial intermediary can share the risk by diversifying or dividing its loan to a large number of people. Lastly, financial intermediary also reduces the cost of asymmetric information. Now, I'm quite sure you have heard this term asymmetric information before. This is the scenario when the information falls indifferently between the two parties of the market. So, for example, we have buyers of bond and we have sellers of bond. Similarly, when we consider loans, we have loan takers and we have loan grantors. By asymmetric information, we mean that one party in the market are more have more information than the other party. So, if you consider banks and granting loans through bank, so when bank is granting loan to its customers, the customer always know more than about himself than the bank can possibly do. And that is why if a customer wants to hide his information, then he can do so without making much effort. Whereas it gets very difficult at times for the bank to gather 100% accurate information from a customer. But banks are the most facilitated institution in the economy that can reduce the cost of asymmetric information by the virtue of customer relationship. So nowadays, a bank maintain and invest a huge amount of their asset in customer relation building, and most of the large banks like ACB, BRAC Bank, NRB Bank, all these banks, they are striving to maintain a very good customer relationship with their customers, and they now have separate department to deal with customer relations. What is the benefit of having those customer relation departments? A customer relationship department tries to build a relation with its customers. So if I maintain my bank account with BRAC Bank, so BRAC Bank has a dedicated customer service manager for me. So at any point of time, if I have any query, I can directly call my manager to ask for his help, for his advice, or for any kind of information that I might require. What is the benefit of so doing? The benefit is today, if I am to say save my money, in that case, the first choice that comes to my mind is bank, right? Because I am much more comfortable in communicating with bank. Similarly, if I am to apply for loan, BRAC Bank should be my first choice because I have been having my account with them for a long time now. Now, what is BRAC's benefit here? So BRAC as a bank, they know that how am I as a customer. They know all of my credit history for the last 5 years since I have been maintaining my account with them. So when they are granting me a loan, they do not need to gather a lot of information about me because they already have a lot of information with them. So, and this has been only possible because of the contact that BRAC has maintained with me in terms of their customer relationship. So banks have now successfully reduced the incidences of asymmetric information, which is actually very difficult if we think of financial market where we, although might be investing in well-known organizations, but we cannot certainly say that organization will not be defaulting. As opposed to that, when we are saving our money in the bank, that comes from a long-term relationship with the bank, and we feel quite comfortable and secured while investing in a bank with which we have a long-term relationship. So that summarizes how a financial intermediary serves different functions in the bank and what makes financial intermediaries one of the most attractive type of financial institution in the economy.